48 years apart, two World Cups are drawing comparisons that go far beyond football. The 1978 tournament in Argentina became one of the most controversial in history. Held while a military dictatorship carried out a campaign of torture, disappearances, and political killings. Now, as the 2026 World Cup reaches its climax, critics argue politics has once again become inseparable from football. This time amid immigration raids, anti-ICE protests, allegations of political interference, and growing questions over FIFA's independence. When Argentina hosted the 1978 World Cup, the country wanted the world to see packed stadiums, national pride, and football at its finest. Less than a mile from Buenos Aires' main stadium stood ESMA, one of the dictatorship's most notorious torture centers. Between 1976 and 1983, Argentina's military junta oversaw the Dirty War, during which an estimated 15,000 to 30,000 people were disappeared, tortured, or killed. The World Cup became one of the regime's most powerful propaganda tools. While the world's cameras focused on footballs, repression continued beyond the stadium. Nearly 50 years later, another World Cup has unfolded alongside a deeply divisive political climate. The tournament has coincided with ICE immigration raids across the United States, nationwide anti-ICE protests, and multiple civilian deaths during immigration enforcement operations and related demonstrations. While the scale and nature of these events are fundamentally different from Argentina's dictatorship, critics argue football is once again unfolding against the backdrop of state violence and political unrest. In both tournaments, football has dominated global headlines, while events outside the stadiums have sparked international concern. Politics has also entered the tournament itself. In 1978, Argentina's military government used the World Cup to improve its international image. In 2026, President Donald Trump has become one of the tournament's central political figures, with the White House heavily embracing the competition and Trump set to personally present the World Cup trophy after the final.
I am. Well, I've been asked to by soccer, by football, by Johnny. Johnny's done a great job. By the way, how hot is this?
And the Dutch are doing fair.
How hot is it? You're doing well.
We're doing very well.
Maybe we'll play you in the finals. No, but how hot?
And not to beat it.
How hot has it been? It's been great. You know, they came to the United States, which isn't a big, as they would say, football, but we can't because it's too confusing. We say soccer, but it's not very big at that. And this is the biggest they've ever had. They've never had anything like it. The numbers are bigger than any other, and it's great spirit. It's tremendous.
The Dutch king and queen.
I think Johnny has done a fantastic job, and yes, he has asked me to hand out the cup.
Placing himself at the center of football's biggest global spectacle.
So we are providing joy and happiness. Unless the team loses, of course. And all this, of course, would not have been possible. And I say this because it is the truth. You don't need people to compliment you, Mr. President, but this World Cup would not have been such an incredible success without you. Please, your administration, every single person in the White House, in the administration, in the cities, in the states, everywhere contributed to create this safe and secure and joyful environment to live something that the world has never seen. This has not just been and is not just the greatest World Cup of all times. It is the greatest human, social, and cultural event that mankind has ever witnessed and seen, and we are all part of it, and for this I thank you very much, Mr. President.
Questions over FIFA's independence have also surfaced in both tournaments. In 1978, FIFA faced criticism for allowing the World Cup to proceed under a military dictatorship despite growing international calls for a boycott. In 2026, FIFA has again been accused of placing politics above sporting integrity. Somali referee Omar Abdulkadir Artan, who was due to become the first official from his country to officiate at the World Cup, was unable to enter the United States despite holding a valid visa. FIFA offered little public defense of its own referee, with President Gianni Infantino telling critics to chill and relax. Later in the tournament, FIFA suspended United States striker Folarin Balogun's automatic red card ban after President Trump personally urged Infantino to review the case.
And they say you can't play. That's very unfair. That's, it's one thing to penalize somebody for the game, but how do you penalize them for a game that hasn't been played yet? It's very unfair. You can't do that. So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA. I spoke to a man who's highly respected, and by the way, whose level of respect has gone up tenfold. And he was good before this started, but he really pushed it in this country. I'm the one that got them to do it.
FIFA insisted the decision was made independently, but football associations, coaches, and pundits questioned whether political pressure had influenced the disciplinary process. On the pitch, Argentina sits at the center of controversy again. In 1978, the host's famous 6-0 victory over Peru, which sent Argentina into the final, became one of the most controversial matches in footballing history. The game had long been surrounded by allegations of political influence after Peru received 1 million tons of grain and a $50 million credit line from Argentina shortly before kickoff. No evidence has ever been conclusively proved the match was ever fixed, but the controversy has never disappeared. Now in 2026, Argentina once again reached the World Cup final. Throughout the tournament, fans, former players, and television pundits have repeatedly questioned whether the defending champions have received greater leniency for physical challenges than other teams, fueling accusations of inconsistent officiating. Adding to those perceptions, FIFA President Gianni Infantino himself admitted he was suffering while watching Argentina trail during one of the knockout matches, prompting criticism that the head of world football appeared emotionally invested in the fortunes of one competing nation. The parallels between 1978 and 2026 should not be overstated. Argentina's military dictatorship was responsible for systematic torture, disappearances, and state terror on a scale that bears no comparison with today's United States. But both World Cups have raised strikingly similar questions. In both cases, football unfolded alongside political conflict. In both cases, FIFA faced accusations of protecting the spectacle rather than confronting the controversy. In both cases, the host nation became central to debates over politics, power, and sporting integrity. Nearly 50 years apart, the controversies are not the same, but they leave the same lingering question. Can the world's biggest sporting event ever truly remain separate from politics? Or does every World Cup ultimately become about much more than football? For more such explainers, subscribe to DawnNews English.